Hello, and welcome to our 7th episode of Occult Studies in Ancient Magic. And today we are with Jorge, and we are talking about the Wheel of Fortune and the Hanged Man. Thank you, Jorge,
Cool,
for being here.
cool. Well, let's start with I don't know. These cards are both kind of related, but in a different way. I don't know. Can you pull a picture of the Tree of Life? Can you find a picture of the Tree of
Oh,
Life?
yeah, hold on, I can do that.
I don't know if you
If
can.
I can add another.
That'll
Hold
be
on,
cool.
I definitely have it. Where did I put it? Episodes.
It's hard to talk about tarot without the Tree of Life.
Yeah, I think I file open slideshow 6. What number do I have? Yes, class 4 I can pull up. There.
Okay, cool. That kind of makes sense. Let me read first the Golden Dawn definition of the Wheel of Fortune, and then you realize why it is kind of important. But it will become really important in the Hangman. It says in the number 10, the Wheel of Fortune is placed in the Pillar of Mercy, which is blues, the blue circle one. The Pillar of Mercy, where it forms the principal columns between Netzach and Chesed. Netzach is the green one, and Chesed is the blue one. Victory and mercy. It is a revolution of experience and progress. The steps of the zodiac, the revolving staircase, held in place by the counter-changing influence of light and darkness, time and eternity, presided over by the Plutonian Cenephalus below. Now you want to look at the card because that one's like a weird word. What the heck is a Cenophalus? Cenocephalus?
This one?
Yeah. So the Cenocephalus in the Rider-Waite is orange, and in the Thoth is kind of like that alligator-looking guy who's like falling. So that is the Cenocephalus,
Oh, cool.
and the Sphinx of Egypt above. See, that's why, like I keep reiterating, the Thoth is the most faithful deck to the Golden Dawn because you have the Sphinx above, and in the Rider-Waite, the Sphinx is reading a book below. I don't know what's up with that. It says the eternal riddle, which can only be solved when we attain liberation. The basic colors of the trump are blue. And I have my cheat sheet again. Blue represents water. And like but I need to double check. Blue, violet, which is Jupiter, like victory, power. And yellow, which represents air. Though the zodiac spokes of the wheel should be in the color of the spectrum, while the ape is in those of Malchut. We have an ape in the Thoth one on the left side. The Rider-Waite does not have an ape. And so, where are we at? In those of Malchut and the Sphinx are the primary colors. And black. I don't know. I'm not gonna quiz you because this is like super long ago. The black phoenix is Hekate.
Oh.
And so that is something that a lot of people didn't know back then. So the fact that they're referring to the Black Phoenix as the Black Phoenix from when that book was written is kind of amazing because Hecate didn't become popular until like, I don't know, 10 years ago, where like all people are all like Hecate.
Mm.
But the Black Phoenix is Hecate. The reason why is because Hecate is kind of like the multiple psychopomp. She has many different ways of doing things. In fact, Hecate, that triplicity, let's pull a statue, I guess. I guess you have the triplicity of one woman, two women, three women. So one of them is Nyx, which is kind of like the crescent, the crescent moon Hecate Salini. And then you have Waxen Gibbons, who is like the egg kind of Hecate. And then there's Phoebe, which is the moon. I mean the full moon. She's kind of like the Statue of Liberty. Wish I could bring my altar down because she has her race in my altar. And so that is why she is assimilated to the phoenix. Because the lion, for example, can be kind of like a lioness, like a mother lion. And so that's kind of like an Artemis, kind of like a waxing gibbons. And then the head, of course, is like more light. So that's kind of like Phoebe. And kind of like the tail is more, the tail and the sword, which are in the Thoth deck, it is more of like a Nyx or a Nuchia.
Nyx is Hecate's mother.
No, Nyx is one aspect of. I can pull it down. This is my copy of Hecate's Triangle, which they have found one in Pergamon in Turkey, and one in Sicily, and one I don't know where. But this one is Nuchie, which people translate as Nyx. So this one is Crescent Moon. Then in the Roman times, which is Pergamon, this is Diana, so or Artemis. This is Waxen Gibbons. And then you have Phoebe, who is the full moon. And so this is the triangle of Hecate in all of her triplicity, which I tried to kind of explain with this, but I guess this is better because this is a divination tool, and it is used based on the stages of the moon. So, for example, you were saying that it's going to be full moon of Capricorn. So then you want to point it this way, where the viewer, it's there, and it's looking at the moon with Phoebe. And then you say the prayer, and then that's when you summon the dead. Hecate is pretty good at summoning the dead.
Yeah.
And then you can ask the dead multiple questions. But anyway, that was our Hecate segue. And then we have the whole card in Crowley is mostly purple, which is Jupiter. Of course, like it had to be Crowley, Jupiterian, ultra male. I'm the one in control. I am the one in domain. And in fact, at the bottom, we have the little symbol of Jupiter. And the letter for Jupiter, make sure I have it right. I don't want to lie to you. Which is purple. Where did I see purple? It's Kaf, right? Oh, yeah. So, yeah, Jupiter, violet, is Kaf. Kaf is kind of like a strength, like a fist. It's just vibrancy. And that is one of the things you get when you look at the Thoth deck, which you have the lightning rays and then the stars. So it's kind of like a Zeus type of vibe, where you have the stars and then coming down from heaven with all these vibrant rays. And so, why do we involve the Wheel of Fortune so much with the Tree of Life? The reason why is because, as the name implies, the Wheel of Fortune, you can go. Sometimes it can be up, or sometimes it can be down, and sometimes it can be in transition. The Xenophalos beast is carrying an Ankh, and what is that called? An Ankh and a third something. I forgot what was the other tool called. Which one of them is a symbol of life, and the other one's a symbol of strength. And so, once again, it's very, very, very Crowley. But the reason why it seems to be going down is because in this instance, the Xenophalos it's kind of indicating kind of a negative nature, kind of like the crocodile in the Book of the Death of the book of the Coming of Light from the Egyptian Book of the Dead. The Xenophalos is similar to that. It eats the heart of the weak. It eats the heart of those who were not righteous. And so we can see these in multiple perspectives. One, we can see the perspective of life and death. where yes, if one were to have been sinful or unvirtuous or lazy, then therefore the heart will be eaten by the xenocephalus, and that person will end up at the bottom half of the wheel of fortune. The monkey in this instance, it's thought. Uh, it wasn't even a monkey. It is it's a type of primate, but it's not a monkey. But this particular primate is indicative of thought. Like, why will we have thought in the middle of the wheel of the wheel of fortune? Is because thought is Hermes, and in fact, when we die, one of the things that people say is that, oh my gosh, my life flashed before my eyes. Well, that is thought. Thought is the one reminding you of all the good and the bad things that we have done in life, and so we shall be judged based on those actions, whether good or bad, virtuous or sinful or bad as we see them, and then we will be judged based on those actions by ourselves and our diamonds. I'm not saying demons. I'm saying diamonds. The spirit or guiding spirits. I don't know. Some people don't like the word diamond, but that is what the little monkey on the left signifies, and then the sphinx on the top. That is virtue. That is virtue, and that is also, like we said, it's kind of like the great mother Hekate. She in the Chaldean oracles, she is the mother of everything. The great fire, or the great news, the great mind, is the one that impregnates Hecate, and then it gets fostered by Artemis. Hence the multiple eggs it has on her chest. It's like it has multiple eggs on her chest. So those are kind of like a hen that is keeping the eggs of warm to her chest, so that they may crack and bring forward life. So Hecate, it's a great archetype for life. It's in darkness when, like a seed, for example, that a seed that is inside of the ground, that then is at the stage of nix, and then once it starts to grow, in like it's saying inside of a womb or inside of an egg, it starts to gain the stage of Artemis. And then once it sees light, once the baby comes out of the womb, or once the chick cracks the egg and it starts to kind of like flutter around, then it has to enter the stage of Phoebe. And so that is the symbolism of the Sphinx, as we have both Sphinx in the Rider-Waite and the Thoth. The sword is kind of like the sword of light, sword of life, sword of strength, which is not actually quite explained in this book, which is kind of interesting because these might have come from previous notes. But we can see in the Rider-Waite that is incomplete, as this usually is. Instead of having the monkey, it has a snake. As to why does it have a snake, I don't know, especially curling down. If it was curling up, I would probably find more symbolism to it, but it don't. And then, of course, Pixie Smith, since she used a lot of art in Catholic churches to make her own art, she put in the four elemental things, which are in a lot of windows in Paris. I believe she was in Paris when she was drawing this deck. And there are many churches in Paris that have stained glass with this particular symbolism of having, kind of like the bird and the human and the bull and the lion. And so that is very Catholic, in my opinion. The fact that the bird and all of them are opening a book, and the book looks like a real book, which is like, why the heck does it look like a book? If it was a scroll, it might be a little bit more legit, but I don't know why she made it look like a book. But it is kind of true to it. One of the cool things that we do see in the Rider-Waite, that we don't see in the Thoth deck, which I think is awesome. It is not in the definition that we just read, but it is great that it has them there, because that is exactly what is happening. We see alchemical symbols. We see the alchemical symbol on top of Mercury. We see on the right the alchemical symbol of sulfur. And then on the left, we have salt. And then on the bottom, we have water, which is kind of cool because in alchemy, I don't know how much we get onto this. The salt is the body. The mercury is the spirit, I want to say, the liquid, and then the sulfur is the soul. And so you have the ashes. I don't know how much we explain the alchemical process. When, for example, let's explain it in spagyric terms. That's kind of simple to understand. So let's say we have a little bowl, and then in our bowl we put certain plants on it, which is like the process of distillation. And so once inside the bowl, we put them in a hot plate, which is usually filled with sand. You don't want to put like direct flame on it, because it will just burn all of your leaves. And so you want to have your bowl with a little bit of water, and you want to have your hot plate with sand. So it heats, but it heats slowly. And so once the the liquid and the plant start to heat up, then the plant will start losing its density, and it will start turning into ash, just kind of like an ashy compound. But then some of the liquid will start going up the tube, and then going down the tube, and then cooling down, and it will get received in another container. And so the bottom part that's left, which is kind of like ash, that is the salt that we call in alchemy. We call that the salt. And then the water that gets transferred and it gets inside of the receptacle, which is what we use in alchemy, or at least in spagyrics, that is a spirit. And then the smoke that gets just condensed, that is the soul. And so that is the alchemical process of not only a plant, but also a process of the soul, a process of our actions. Because same thing is like our actions, we do a particular action and we exert energy on it, and then when our energy is depleted, then we have to rest. So when we rest, that's the salt. The action becomes the spirit, and then the soul, it is what brings what is the results of our efforts. So alchemical processes are everywhere. I just read a book by Ike Baker, who also finds the process of alchemy into his method of, what's it called? He calls it etheric magic. And so he uses alchemy as a form of performing a magical, not only a magical operation, but a whole magical philosophy. That is his take on his alchemical process. Where here in the Thoth deck, we don't see that alchemical process anywhere. We have a little bit of a fist at the bottom. I'm not sure what the fist means. The curling snake of the Cynocephalus, but that's pretty much it.
Is there any significance of the stars on top of the Thoth deck?
Yeah, that's Crowley coin. I'm a superstar.
Got it.
Seriously, it's like you have the stars with the lightning.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very Zeus, very Jupiter,
Yeah.
which I kind of get. It's like this. It goes along with the symbolism. It's like I totally get it why he put him there, because it makes sense with the symbolism and the color of the deck, which is violet, Jupiter. I get it. It's very Zeus, very male, male dominated deck. Even though it was like illustrated by a woman.
It is interesting to me too because, like, obviously in the Rider-Waite, it's like alchemical, like the circle of life and like the process of everything, which to me would be a little bit more feminine because women have more of that whole life
Yes.
process. Yeah, so that's interesting.
Yes, and also goes along with the Hecate thing because you can also see Nyx, the darkness, as the salt,
Uh,
and also the Artemis egg. You can see that as a spirit, and then you can see the light, the phobia, as the soul.
okay.
Kind of like it becomes aware, it becomes kind of like unbounded by the body.
So interesting.
And then, oh yeah, one thing I should probably mention: we have some Hebrew letters in the wheel in the Rider-Waite. We have, if we read from left to right, is Yod He Vav He, which is the divine name. And in the center, even though we don't quite see it, but it's there, is a symbol of earth.
Hmm.
That little circle in the middle with a bunch of lines,
Yeah.
that is the symbol of earth.
Cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's all I got on that one.
That's pretty good. I got a whole page.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Okay. Moving over.
And for this one, for the hangman, we're probably going to use the tree of life, not yet.
Okay, tell me when.
Let's read the definition according to the Golden Dawn. Number 12, the hangman. An elusive because a profound significant symbol. It is sacrifice, the submergence of the higher in the lower in order to sublimate the lower. We're talking about alchemical terms again. It is the descent of the spirit into matter, the incarnation of God in man, the submission to the bonds of matter, that the material can be transcended and transmuted. The colors are deep purple, white, black intermingled but not merged, olive, green, and greenish fawn. Now, if we go like I don't know if you watched the previous videos, colors are everything. More than the symbol, more than the beautiful art, colors are everything in the Golden Dawn deck. That is why every one of these definitions has the definition of the colors right at the end. Okay, let's go. Deep purple. Deep purple. Oh my gosh, I lost my page. My computer went to sleep and then I lost this page. Sorry.
No worries, we got time.
All right, we got purple is Aquarius, the letter of Zadi. Now, yeah, one cool thing. Let's start with this. In the hangman, at the bottom of that card, we have the symbol of water and the Hebrew letter mem. Frida Harris, Lady Harris, was not very good at Hebrew, so her mem looks kind of weird, but that's a mem. It's kind of like an M, and so this is a very significant symbol, or not symbol. What should we call it? Element. I guess we can call water element. A very significant element of this particular card because water is very transmutative. It helps with the transmutation, kind of like I was explaining with the alchemical process, where we have the bowl with the leaves inside. The water is that makes everything. The water is the one that makes everything happen.
Hmm.
If the water was not there, the leaf will just burn. And so that is where we want to start with this card.
Like it holds the container better.
No, it's kind of like, I don't know. I'm an electrical engineer, so this is the way I see it. Everything needs to have resistance. And so, like a resistor, for example, is just a piece of ceramic
Mhm.
with a wire in the middle. And depending on the density of the I don't know, it's probably a bad analogy because not like electrical engineering is so elusive. A spring. A spring is the one, or in fact, our arms are kind of like a spring. If you pull it, it's like it's going to have resistance.
Mm-hmm.
And so water is that resistance, if that somehow makes any sense.
Okay.
And so, but if the water was not there, or even tendons or bones were not there, the arm would just pull off, right? And so the same thing with the water. If the water was not there, the leaves will just burn. Mm. And so that is why the hangman equating it to the element of water is so conducive to understand these concepts, because they're hard to understand. Like, one way the Greeks try to understand is very Dionysian, but then again it gets very complicated with Dionysus. It's like, how come he's alive and then he gets killed? Why does he get killed? And how does he get born? How does he get reborn? What the heck does Zeus have to do with the reborn? And then why does he can bring people from the dead? It gets very complicated because you have to explain who is Zeus, who are the Titans, who is Hera, what is that? Why did he die in that particular way that he died? It gets very complicated. Mm-hmm. But if we understand this analogy of life and death by starting with the concept of water, things become easier to understand. Mm-hmm. At least here's why. Because when we were exploring the Fool, we were talking about how there's so much blue in the Fool card. Mm. And so the blue is significant of water, and why there's an alligator in the element of water. Well, the reason why is because the water is a subconscious, and then the air is the conscience. And so here, in this particular card, where we are speaking about the element of water, we're speaking in either in a subconscious realm, or we're speaking in a transmutative realm, transcended and transmuted realm. And so now let's break it down. The crucifixion of Christ, it can mean multiple things, but let's talk about it in esoteric, what it actually meant to the people that mostly understood it back in those times. The cross did not represent just a cross. Like, why the heck will he get crucified on a cross? He can die in multiple ways, multiple horrible ways, but the cross was very interesting. And then the other two guys that died next to him, they were put in Tao's crosses, I guess, but not in a cross. So why was Jesus put in a cross? I don't have my Golden Dawn implements, and it will take me a while to find. But the cross is basically a swastika. I know it sounds weird, but let me explain. The swastika was not a symbol of hate back in the time of Jesus or in India. The swastika, the middle of the swastika is a sun in the middle, and each one of the corners is one of the deacons of each particular element of the zodiac. For example, we have Scorpio, who is the deacon of water. We have Aries, who is the deacon of fire. We have Taurus, who is the deacon of earth. And we have Aquarius, who is the deacon of air. And so that is the cross. The cross is the sun in the center, and each one of the elemental deacons along the way. And then the center is spirits. And then, of course, you have each element, which could either, like, here Crowley made it actually nice, because we have one corner, two corners, three corners, four corners, whereas in the Rider-Waite, the Fool is, the hangman is hiding his hands, so we cannot see what elements. Here in the hangman, the only thing that we can see is that Pixie Smith has reversed the tree of life. Flip it. This is Tifareth or Keter, and then the bottom is Malchut. And so that is why we have to look at this from the tree of life perspective, because all of a sudden the sacrifice or the death of a particular person has reversed the order of the tree of life. Instead of earthy things ascending towards the light, now the light has ascended toward the light has ascended towards the earth, which is exactly what the definition here is saying, where it is a sacrifice, the submergence of the higher in the lower in order to sublimate the lower. Does that make any sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to explain it, but it's hard. This is a difficult concept to try to make sense, because it's a universal concept of sacrifice, universal concept of like death and reborn.
Yeah.
But it is sometimes very hard to understand. Sometimes one of the easiest way to do it is either like when we go to sleep. When we go to sleep, the light, the light has become dark, so we have closed our eyes, and now we're in a subconscious type of realm, which is the water. And then when we are awake, the earth all of a sudden becomes light. We're able to open our eyes and we can see the light and everything's happening and it's pretty and all fancy stuff. In the thought deck, we also see the same thing, where the subconscious is kind of at the bottom, and then the conscious or the light is at the top. And then of course we have the symbol of life, the Ankh, reverse, of saying that is exactly what's happening, bro. You're going from the light to the darkness. And that is what the hangman truly means. It just means that the light is descending towards the unconscious, towards the darkness. It's dying. And then of course Crowley made some cool stuff by putting a little snake here at the bottom, by symbolizing darkness, nightmares, unconscious movement within the waters, the haunting unconsciousness of the bottoms of the waters. And then, of course, he put these little squares here along the way, which is very Masonic, upon the square. Kind of like everything's measured, everything is evaluated, everything has bounds.
And if you were used to use this in like divination, like for example, if this card pulled up for somebody, how would you read that exactly?
A stage is ending and a new one is beginning.
Okay.
And try to learn from the unconscious actions within the times of darkness. Within the times of, not darkness, within the times of transition.
Okay.
That is exactly what this card means in tarot, in divination. It's like there's a time, and the time is coming to an end, and you should be aware of the changes that are happening along the way, to try to understand what is happening to you, and to everyone around you.
It doesn't necessarily mean that there has to be a sacrifice for things to be made.
It could be.
Okay.
It could be, because every death, every end of a period, it's sacrifice.
Okay.
That is why it's kind of like that's why the hangman is a very good archetype for this particular explanation of death and rebirth, because nobody likes to change. Everybody likes to have it, to have a everybody feels comforted by comfort. Everybody likes the status quo to which they have grown accustomed to. And this card basically means that there's a new change coming.
Okay.
And you will have to learn how to adjust. And during that adjustment period, there's going to be some stage of unconscious change.
Okay.
And so Crowley, when those squares, are saying, don't worry, it's temporary, but it is measurable and you should be able to learn from it. So in a way, the Pixie Smith card tries to tell the same story, in which the hangman is just chill. He's not suffering, he's not freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
He's just staring intently into the viewer, as basically saying, yes, I am dying, but I will be reborn, and there's a new stage coming, and I'm not freaking out about it.
Yeah, I like that. What's with the crossed leg?
Those are the elements.
Oh,
So,
I see.
those are the elements. That's like I said. So here's the sun in the center.
Got it.
Then you have air, you have air, earth, fire, and water.
Oh, I see. I see.
So those are the elements that I was trying to explain. That is the cross.
Okay.
Pixie Smith doesn't make it quite,
Yeah.
interesting, but the thought one, it makes it a little bit easier to understand.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
How interesting.
So that's why I was trying to explain the whole Jesus thing. Because
Yeah.
like, why is he in a cross? But then he is the Son of God. So therefore, he's not only the SON, but he's also the SUN.
Mm.
So him in the center, and then the top one's the air, the bottom is the earth, then the right one's the fire, and the left one is the water.
Got it. Okay.
And so, and those are the cherubs or the cardinal points of the zodiac and the zodiac cross. And the reason why there's a swastika is because once it goes like this, then you have, let's say, for example, sun, and then let's talk about water. So you have the sun, and then the cherub is Scorpio. So you have Pisces, I think. Pisces, and what will be the other one? Cancer. Cancer, correct. And so those will be the triad of water. And then you have the triad of fire, which the cherub will be like Aries, and then you have Leo and Sagittarius.
Mm.
So that will be kind of like the right arm of the swastika. So instead of elongating it, you just kind of like make it like this, and then just like flip it a little bit down, because it's supposed to rotate. And so that is why that is the cross. The cross is like the zodiacal assignations of no, the elemental assignations of the zodiac.
Oh, so interesting. It's interesting because some cultures still use the swastika as like a symbol of like friendship and things like that. But I'm like wondering if it was vilified, obviously, during the Nazi regime. But that people always have these very interesting assumptions of like Hitler using magic and things. So
yeah, on the Spanish session, let me see if I can go dig out my swastika with all the symbols.
Okay, yeah, I'm curious.
I have one.
I know it's like a really misunderstood symbol, and it's like one that people are like freak out when they see it. But I know that it has like deeper meaning, and in some cultures it's still used. Like I know in Thailand it's still like a very common symbol.
I know in India it's still used, and they say it's the sun, but it's not just the sun; it's the sun and the zodiac.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, like it's everywhere.
Yeah, very interesting. Do you have, now that I'm thinking of this and it's ruminating in my head, do you have thoughts about Hitler using dark magic?
Yeah, they have the Tool Society.
Mm.
The Tool Society. They in fact did perform ceremonies with the SS, initiating ceremonies, but I don't think it was Hitler. It was Himmler that was kind of like the great grandmaster. They had like a temple. What do they call it? The wolf something? I don't know. I don't know that much about it. I only watched a few documentaries, but I don't remember a lot about it. But they even manufactured this kind of like a brass bowl or this gold bowl where like people were like dunked into or something happened. It's kind of funny because nobody has really talked about it. But there are inside legends as to what really went on, but they were sworn to secrecy. So I don't know if we will ever know what really happened in those ceremonies.
Yeah.
But based on what was left, we do kind of get a sense of like, yeah, these guys were doing some like creepy occult stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So
but we don't really quite know what it is. But yeah, Hitler definitely Himmler, and the fat guy, I forgot his name, definitely wanted to incorporate a sense of kind of like pagan religiosity
Mm-hmm.
to their militaristic endeavors, campaigns,
Hmm.
to basically try to motivate people to go beyond human
Like capacity person.
capacity attempts, capacity of what is possible and what is not possible, for sure.
How fascinating.
But
Didn't Disney, like Walt Disney, also use some of those symbolisms?
yes, he did. There is a very cool video with Donald Duck where Donald Duck explains what alchemy is. I think it's called Mathemagics,
Oh wow.
where it gets very Ptolemaic. It gets very Ptolemaic, where Donald Duck is explaining symbolism, the symbolism of mathematics using magic.
Huh.
And yeah, it's on YouTube. You can watch it. I think it's called Mathemagics, and Donald Duck is all over it.
I'm gonna have to watch that. I'm so curious.
And then
My
there's a lot of also occult symbolism in Fantasia.
yes.
Yes, which is that one is super superb. It's really hard to understand unless you actually know a lot of mythology.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know your mythology, you're gonna get like, oh yes, pretty elephants or pretty whatever monster, and that's it. But Walt Disney was a Freemason, and
Knew
he
it.
was a huge fan of Albert Pike.
Mm.
So if you want to understand Fantasia, I will recommend reading Morals and Dogma before you watch Fantasia. But then again, reading Morals and Dogma is not going to help you very much unless you know your Greek mythology pretty good.
Oh, that's the one I'm missing. I haven't gotten into my Greek mythology yet.
The Greek mythology is going to be your language in Morals and Dogma. And if you don't understand mythology, you're not going to understand Morals and Dogma. And if you don't understand Morals and Dogma, you're not going to understand Fantasia.
Okay. I knew Fantasia had like other like meanings and things, and I remember like people talking like weird stuff about it, and they were like, "Oh, he's on acid," and there was like all these like weird like projections on it, but I couldn't figure it out.
I don't know if he was an acid or not, but I when I watched that Fantasia and thinking it's like, oh crap, there's like Hades. Oh, there's Zeus. Oh crap, there's like freaking uh water guy. Not well, I guess Neptune. I guess there's Neptune. Oh cool, there's Demeter. Oh look, here comes Persephone. It's like
Silly.
it's like you see all this Greek stuff everywhere.
Interesting.
And then in a way, kind of like Mickey Mouse is very Dionysus,
Mm.
which is kind of funny because it's like I guess if you like in India, for example, they have this kind of like a bowl with like a phallic symbol on top. What are they called? I forgot what they're called, but they're all over in many rivers. And in fact, Indians today, when they worship Shiva, Shiva and Dionysus are basically the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Shiva means the one with no name. Dionysius, that's exactly what it means. It means like the god with no name.
Mm.
Dio, Neseus, with no name. The god with no name. Shiva is the same thing. Is the one with no name. And yet Shiva is exemplified, or at least he's worshipped in India with these kind of like bowls with this little kind of like spigot coming out of it and a little phallic symbol on top. I forgot what it's called. You can buy those on Amazon for like $10. And so Dionysus is the huge phallic guy. So he is so like Shiva and Dionysus are the same thing. And so the reason why I'm bringing this up is because if you look at Mickey Mouse, when you're looking at the castle from a particular angle,
Mm-hmm.
is Walt Disney's phallic symbol. It's like his mouse, his little mouth. What is it called? His
Now,
snout.
yeah.
His snout as it comes out, it totally looks like Walt Disney's member because he's standing sideways. Instead of looking forwards to you, he's standing sideways towards Mickey Mouse. So if you look at the castle, you can see Walt Disney's phallus, which is Mickey Mouse snout.
Wow.
So it gets very Dionysian. Like Walt Disney, he was a Freemason. He knew all of this symbology big time,
Yeah.
and so so Mickey Mouse is very Dionysian in Fantasia.
Huh.
he dies, he's reborn, a new age comes in, he goes on these travels, very nonus, and then he learns something new, and then he becomes this powerful magician who can transform things from life to death. It gets very Dionysian. It's very Dionysian, very fast.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Maybe we should make a video in the future about let's explore Fantasia from an occult perspective.
Oh my God, please. Because I was like, I don't even know if there's like a video or something to watch, because I just remember like as a kid, my something about my parents' religion or something, and they were like that's like not good. It's evil. And I was like, okay, there's obviously something there. And so yeah, I just couldn't piece it all together. And then I was like, I know that there was like magic, but I'm not sure like to what degree. Yeah, I'd love to dive
Yeah.
into that.
Maybe Donald Duck gets super Masonic because Freemasonry is very Pythagorean, and modern Freemasons have no idea what that means.
Hmm.
It's kind of funny because even like the second degree is like you cannot get any more Pythagorean than that.
Huh.
It's like that's there, or like rhetoric, arithmetic, logic. Masons go like, oh yeah, that's cool, let's do it, let's memorize it, but you have absolutely no freaking idea what that means.
Huh. That's
But
crazy.
that Donald Duck Mathematics tries to explain it, but of course, Walt Disney is not going to give it to anybody.
Right.
You have to do your homework before you get it.
Huh. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to do a deep dive in that. That'd be really interesting.
Yeah, but then again, we cannot air Fantasia
No.
on YouTube, so I don't know. One of my friends have the way they do it is they have people. Well, no, guys, we don't have any people, but they probably had about 500 viewers watch. I forgot this. It was this movie about the Abramelin ritual, and so they told people, it's like, okay, we're gonna start this movie, which is about the Abramelin ritual, right about now, and so everybody's watching it at the same time, with their own rights, and then my friend, esoteric guy, Justin Sledge, and another guy who is a Golden Dawn guy as well, but from Florida. His name is Aaron Leach. He's published many books, and they were both commenting on the Abramelin. Particularly Aaron Leach, because Aaron Leach has published books about the Abramelin. And in fact, I think he used to run classes. I don't know if he still does too. But they needed to talk about this particular video. But then it was kind of like a bashing of the video, of the movie, because the movie is not very true to the Abramelin, and in fact, it shouldn't be, because the Abramelin, it is a very long, very tedious, very boring ritual. so here
What's
in
the
the movie,
ritual for?
to call upon your guardian angel, or
Okay.
Aaron Leach doesn't like to call it that. I don't know what he calls it. It's basically kind of like your guardian angel, to call upon your daimon, or I don't know what you want to call it. But that is what the ritual is. Very long, and it's not very complicated, but it takes a lot of effort.
Yeah.
You have to set up a little shed in your backyard with sand, and set up an altar. You need a robe. You need a little censer. You need to say a prayer every morning. It's a very complicated, very tedious, very long ritual. And then, of course, they had to make it Hollywood, so it's like, you cannot handle this ritual. Yes, I can. And then the guy is like, okay, I'll teach you with the condition of blah, blah, blah. Of course, we have this hero's journey, of course, I don't really quite want to do it, but I'm forced to do it. And so I'll go on the journey. And then you have the master. But then it gets really dark, where the guy starts to try to take advantage of the woman, because he's the woman, the one trying to do the ritual. And then it gets very predatory, which is,
of course,
the ritual that has nothing to do with that. The ritual is a very solitary, very clean ritual, and if you're not clean, if you're not alone, it's not going to work.
Yeah, interesting.
But the ritual here is like, you have to be trapped in this house for like, I don't know how many months.
Wow.
18 months, and you're here stuck with me. And by the way, I want to have some nookie, which the ritual calls nothing for that. In fact, it calls against it. He
Wow.
tells like that you need to have the least amount of sex possible. But this guy is like, yeah, I need to have my way with you. It's like, oh boy.
Of course. Hollywood.
And then the woman, but I don't want to, but you have to. Okay.
Oh, God.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy.
Oh, my God. Well, that is very interesting.
Yeah. So that's what Justin Sledge and Aaron Leach were talking about during their airing of, well, not airing, their description of this particular movie. I forgot what it's called.
Yeah, that's interesting. We should definitely do a series or an episode talking just about which movies you would recommend for people to like learn things or something along those lines.
Oh my gosh, the Holy Mountain.
Yeah?
What a great movie.
What's that? Is that on in a specific channel that you know of, or?
I don't know where it is. I have to own everything by Jodorowsky. He is the man. He's a Chilean Jewish filmmaker. And his magnus opus for me is Holy Mountain.
Okay.
And he was great because during when he was making it, he met some of the great sages of that time.
Oh, wow.
He met some of the greatest gurus of his time. I know for sure he met Carlos Castaneda because one of my uncles was there when Carlos and Jodorowsky were there together. Carlos Castaneda was a big magician, writer, PhD botanist from UCLA guy.
Oh, wow. Interesting. And you're Chilean.
Yeah, Jodorowsky, the filmmaker, he's Chilean, but he's Jewish. So he's basically white, but he was born and raised in Chile, and he made his movies in Mexico.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, we have a lot of white Chileans and a lot of Jewish Chileans. It's actually not surprising because of the way things transcribe through the world. But yeah,
I have not met that many Chileans, and the few that I have met, they have not been Jewish. So I don't know.
Yeah, interesting. Huh, very cool. Well, thank you so much. This was very interesting.
Yeah, no problem.
Very cool. All right. Well, then I will see you in like 8 minutes over in Espanol.
Cool. Let me go find my swastika.
The great way to end this episode.
That's right.
Awesome. Thank you. I'll see you in a minute.
Bye.
Bye.